a movie review. This is going to be a short one, but it's A Cold Wind in August, released in 1961. Just 18 minutes in black and white, directed by Alexander Singer. Writing, the screenplay by Burton Wall, inspired from his novel. Cast. In the lead role, and absolutely scintillating she is as well, Laura Albright plays Iris Harford. Her young lover, a young 17-year-old young man, Scott Marlowe as Vito Pellegrino. The superintendent in the office block, the apartment block where she lives, and Vito's father, Joe DeSantis, plays Papa Pellegrino. Then we have a number of other males who have certain interests in Iris. Clark Gordon as Harry, Skip Young as Al, and Herschel Bernardi as Julie France. And then there are a few other young girls who are in the peer group that Vito is mixing with. Janet Brandt as Shirley, Anne Atmar as Carol, and Jaina Taylor as Alice, and finally D.G. Green as Mary. This is a B movie, but it's one of those movies that you tend not to look at. You think, oh, it's going to be a load of rubbish. Well, I read a little bit about this and it attracted me, and I'm very pleased I did get to watch it. It's an interesting film, Cold Wind in August. It's basically about a woman, probably aged around 30-ish, who lives in an apartment on her own, and she's previously been employed as a stripper at a club. But she's clearly taking some time out. She may well have quit. But she's approached by a man who's responsible for the entertainment at the club, who pleads with her to come and do some work for a week to help him out. She's very reluctant, says she'll give it some thought. But she's clearly a woman with unfulfilled desires. The men that have been in her life have really used her, and she has never really sexually come alive. Then her fortunes change, her air conditioning's on the blink, and she contacts the superintendent janitor of the apartment block, and he sends up his son, 17-year-old Vito Pellegrino, to solve the air conditioning problem. Once he arrived, he's got a sort of Italian stallion look about him, and Iris is attracted to him. You can see the magnetism attracting her to this young boy, and she, even on this first visit, makes it quite clear with how attentive she is, that she's really interested in this boy, and he is somewhat shy and reticent, but goes with the flow. He then comes back the following day to finish the repair job, and she's decked herself out with perfume and quite an erotic piece of clothing, and we get into drinks, and she tempts Vito with alcohol, and it's clear that they're heading towards starting a relationship. Alongside this, we also get a glimpse of Vito with his peer group. It's a completely different scenario. Vito's very much in charge here, cocky almost, and he expects all the girls to be in love with him. And he's somewhat sort of rather, not arrogant, but he's sort of carefree, and gives the impression that he's okay one way or the other, and doesn't express any great desire for one particular one, preferring to groom them all. And the girls are sort of jockeying for position. But it's quite a good picture of how adolescents behave in that age group where they're starting to be attracted to the opposite sex. Back to the older women scenario, the gigolo scenario, we find that their relationship has quickly developed into a physical relationship, and there's quite a risque sort of scene where they appear to be naked, although it's well censored, but the exchange dialogue suggests that they're both very content with the situation, even though the emotional level of both is radically different. Vito, of course, is rather besotted by this older, attractive woman showing interest in him, whereas Iris, of course, is clued in to the fact that she's physically having her needs satisfied, and so they both echo a sense of love for each other, but they're coming from different positions. Now, the honeymoon period quickly disappears, and Iris starts to mother him a little bit, control him, and this builds some sort of resentment. But she is still quite attracted to Vito, but chooses to take some time out to try and get to grips with her feelings. She goes away for the weekend with an old flame, and it's a disaster because she's constantly thinking about the young boy. Upon returning, she gravitates to him immediately, and although he reciprocates, it's clear that he hasn't been pining for her. He's also given a couple of talks by his father. The first is really about how to handle the feelings of attraction to women, and it's more a sense of, take your time, don't get too over involved, shop around a bit. And the second one is an acknowledgement of this relationship, and suggesting that Vito should now grow up and start behaving like a man rather than just behaving like a young boy. I found these two scenes very much very important to the sense of the value of this film. When she returns from this disastrous weekend, Vito appears sort of to take it in his stride, isn't pining for her, but he then finds out from another lad in the neighbourhood that another friend has gone to this strip club because Iris has excused herself for a week, telling a lie that her mother's sick. But in fact, she's gone to work at her old venue to help out this guy. And she's been spotted by a young teenager in the crowd who's fed back the information to Vito. Vito is, of course, aghast and then takes it upon himself to go to the venue himself. And he finds out that it is, in fact, true, and that Iris is a stripper. This then provokes a huge amount of anger, and he tracks her down and has a right go of her, and it develops quickly into a confrontation. They exchange a lot of vitriol, and it's clear that he can't cope with the fact that he views her act as dirty, all part of the moral compass, I guess, and she compartmentalize him with all the other men who have become very possessive and obsessional about her and don't recognise her own needs. So the consequences, they split. We then get to the closure of this movie after a few weeks, she's still pining for the boy and hopes on a reconciliation and invites him round. He's already turned his attention to others in his own peer group, as young males will do if they're clearly an attractive proposition. And although there's a very sensitive scene at the end where he visits Iris, it's clear that he's moved on and reconciliation is beyond this relationship. So I found the package, I found it very watchable. It was quite risque for its age. The performance by Laura Albright I thought was excellent, and the young boy Scott Marlowe also a good performance. So it's the sort of movie that find it, put it on, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's called A Cold Wind in August. It was directed in 1961 by Alexander Singer.